right, my speed review coming out of the movie theater, having seen it for the fourth time, The Batman. First time I saw it was in IMAX for the fan screening. The second time was in Dolby. The third time was at a local theater. And then this time was at an IMAX theater again, because it was... because IMAX was what I thought the movie was best in. And this was pretty neat because it was matinee showing on a weekday, so like nobody was there. Was probably like 10 other people there, which I think is pretty good for a Monday afternoon. So there was a lot of people, for a Monday afternoon, but it still felt like I had an IMAX screen to myself, and I got like the perfect seat because they were all open. And I think when I bought the ticket, only one other person was in the theater. It's kind of interesting to see what some people's preferences were, because it was like you could pick the optimal seat, and you picked these like all the way on the end, or whatever the case is. But at any rate, speed review of my fourth time having seen the movie, and I gotta tell you, it gets better with every viewing because there's so much that you could miss in the first viewing. That's not essential, but the more you see it, just the more details you get, and so thus the more the end plot makes sense, and you just enjoy it more. And when you have like the IMAX sound quality and just this huge screen, I mean, it really is a movie that has to be viewed on an IMAX screen or a Dolby screen, if at all possible, because the sound quality in this movie, the people that do the sound, the people that do the guy that does the visuals, they should get an Oscar, because it's down to like when Batman takes a step, you hear it. Like there's like a heft to it, and I really like that. And so let's get into the nitty-gritty. I will post a full in-depth review sometime later this week, but this is just some of my quick thoughts. By that I mean it'll probably still go 10 or 15 minutes, but because there's a lot to this movie. So number one, my favorite parts of the movie would be the atmosphere. This is an immersive movie. Matt Reeves was not over-exaggerating. You really do get absorbed into the atmosphere of this movie. Gotham is a character of its own. I've never felt that Gotham has never been so perfectly been depicted in a movie, period. Batman Begins kind of captured a pretty good amount, but this just full-on embraces it. And with what Matt Reeves has teased with the Batman 2, maybe doing Mr. Freeze, I would absolutely love to see this Gotham in winter with a Mr. Freeze story. That really excites me. But, so like, just the environment, the immersiveness, the sound, like I said, it's almost always raining in this Gotham, and I think that really adds to the environment of it. It makes it just seem like just a terrible place to live. And I really like that. And so the cinematography and the sound together are really, I think, what elevates this to a whole nother level, because the way they mount cameras on vehicles, the way that they get the lighting on the cowl and the suit, and the angles that they get on Batman, and again the vehicles with the rain and everything. There is not a Batmobile that I would want to drive more than this one. This Batmobile feels so powerful, and it's because of the sound quality. The sound that this Batmobile makes, and the engine, and just the angles of it driving through the rain with that penguin car chase scene. It is not just my favorite Batmobile chase or Batmobile scene. It is my favorite car chase scene of any movie ever. It's not maybe as long as some car chase scenes in other movies, but the atmosphere, like the car chase scene with Penguin is the epitome of this movie's atmosphere musical score, and just cinematography. This is when the movie is at, in my opinion, from a cinematography standpoint and an immersiveness standpoint, not necessarily story, but this is when the movie is most immersive and, for me, most like jaw-dropping. When you're hearing it in IMAX, it is absolutely breathtaking. Like, it gives me, the score is giving me chills. The sound of the Batmobile, you just feel it in your chest. You feel this vehicle's power more than I ever felt with the Tumbler, and I love the Tumbler in the Nolan movies, and I love the Batmobile from BVS, but this Batmobile, it feels so real. Like, if I could drive any Batmobile, this is the one I would want to drive. In the pre-novel, we know that he built this Batmobile himself, and like, it just feels so amazing. And so the next thing that I love the most, atmosphere, score, Batmobile, is Batman himself. Pattinson, like, I've always cared about my Batman, had an emotional connection to the character. And with Ben Affleck's Batman, I probably felt the most emotionally connected and related to him. I could really feel his pain. But Pattinson does that too. And with his Pattinson, like, I genuinely care what happens to him. I genuinely, I'm thinking in the movie theater, I actually really like this guy. He's so nuanced, and the way that Pattinson performs his subtle facial expressions and movements, the emotion that he conveys in his eyes, you're like, this Batman has so much personality and so much soul without being very bolsterous, right? This Batman is like the comic book Batman, where he's quiet, he's reserved, he's cool and collected, he's cool. Like, oh my goodness, you've seen the clip they've shown of him punching Gordon in the face. They released it, before the movie even came out. And then what he tells Gordon the next time that they come, like, this Batman is just so Batman. I cannot get over it. My only critique of it is his Bruce Wayne doesn't really exist. But for what they're going for in this movie, I like it. I would, for the future installment, I would like to see his Bruce Wayne come a little bit more, and I do think they've set that up a little bit with the ending and all of the monologue at the end a little bit. I think he's going to try to seek to help Gotham in other ways and become more of a figure of hope. But yeah, Pattinson, I can't rave on Pattinson enough. There's a couple moments where, like, I feel maybe he was a little too moody, but again, with this Batman, just the emotion that he conveys, and the cowl is so excellently lit when light is hitting it. It just looks so freaking cool. And I love how in this cowl, if you didn't know, even if you knew Bruce Wayne and you saw him in the cowl, he changes his voice just enough and the cowl hides his face enough, you wouldn't know that it was Bruce Wayne. I mean, it hides his identity perfectly, and I really like that. And a big thing I like about Pattinson's Batman is he does not kill. That is what elevates him a little bit above a lot of the other live-action Batman, is I'm pretty sure he's the only one other than Clooney who doesn't kill. Even Adam West's Batman kills at one point, and it's pretty crazy. But, so that elevates him a little bit in my eyes. I'll do a ranking of all the Batman later. I would like to see more stealth fighting with this Batman. He kind of just charges into fights head on, because as he says, I don't really care if I die. So I would like to see a little bit more stealth, like you see in Batman Begins when he's taking all the thugs out one by one stealthily. I like that part of Batman, and I'd like to see more of that. Zoe Kravitz's Catwoman, absolutely excellent. I still like Michelle Pfeiffer more, but Zoe Kravitz, she's so real, and I really like that. And just even the way she moves is very feline, and you can really tell that she's done her research on the character. And I've seen a lot of interviews with her, and she just seems like a really down-to-earth person that you could really just have, just hang out with. Pattinson too, but with Catwoman's character, she really kind of just got this, like, this is a real person, and like the way she moved, I'd really like to see her get a Catwoman suit. They have said that this is like pre-Catwoman suit, like this is like pre-Catwoman, if you will, and I would love to see her get a cat suit, because maybe that would elevate her above Michelle Pfeiffer, because this is definitely the most comic book accurate Catwoman we've ever had. But I just really like Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman, so she's still my favorite. For me, Michelle Pfeiffer makes Batman Returns. She's the reason why I love that movie. She just nails it. Everything the character should be. But that being said, though, the relationship between Catwoman and Batman in this movie is absolutely excellent. 100% comic book accurate. You know, I don't want to spoil anything, but just the way that they interact with each other from beginning to end and how their relationship develops is so comic book accurate, and it's so well executed. I love it. There's one line that Catwoman has in the movie that I don't really care for, but it makes sense for the character, and I'll post in my longer review. You can kind of see what I'm talking about and how I've rationalized it to actually end up liking that the line is there. I think that it kind of adds a nuanced layer to things and some irony that kind of makes the character deeper, and I actually kind of like it. And I don't necessarily disagree with her. I just think that she sees the world in these absolutes, and who she's looking at in that moment kind of proves that that absolute isn't true, and it's very nuanced, and I kind of like it. Colin Farrell, absolutely excellent. Just like with, you know, Batman, you wouldn't know that's Colin Farrell. You know it's Colin Farrell, but even when you're looking at him, you're like, that's not Colin Farrell, but it is him. And he just nails it out of the park. I would love to see his Penguin TV show. This is a very Batman, I mean, this is a very comic accurate Penguin. He's very comic accurate to the Earth 1 storyline in particular. He's really the only comic accurate Penguin that I've seen in live action. I love Danny DeVito, but it's not comic accurate. Carmine Falcone, excellently done. You know, for who the character is, this is definitely Long Halloween Carmine Falcone, and we are getting the correct pronunciation of the name in this movie, which I like. Alfred is great. We don't see a lot of him, but when we do see him, that's what I want to see from this version of Alfred, which is also from Batman Earth 1. And there's that one scene with him, and it's very touching, and I think it would make anybody tear up a little bit, because it's so well executed, and, you know, Andy Serkis really communicates the pain of their relationship, and just how he talks, the way his face, all of the actors really nailed, like, just doing facial expressions and things like that. Gordon, perfect. Honestly, Jeffrey Wright, just keep doing what you're doing. You don't even have to really change anything. You just keep doing what you're doing, and I will love your character. I mean, he's just so well done, and I have no criticisms for Jeffrey Wright whatsoever. I don't really have many criticisms at all on this movie. And the Riddler, he's menacing, he's creepy. He might not look like a comic book Riddler, but he acts like comic Riddler, especially from Scott Snyder's run. And I can't rave on this movie enough. I even really love the character, the cop Ramirez. Just the way that his character, he's very minor, but the way that he goes through the movie, I really like him. This movie fires on all cylinders. It's very good. It's not The Dark Knight, so it's not a suspense thriller. This is a detective noir story, but for the detective noir, it is so suspenseful and so engaging and so immersive. And I would have to give it probably like a 9.8 out of 10. It's slowly gone up the more I've watched it. And definitely go see it in IMAX. I love this movie. Go watch it. Peace out. Love this movie.